How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Just Noise Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm your host, Daniel.
And today we're doing a podcast.
Woo!
If you're new to the channel, please smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment what you guys want us to talk about next week. And we'll get into the podcast right now.
Get into it. Okay, so we're going to talk about some theories that we talked about this past week. One of them is about our dogs. Now, this is pretty crazy because we've all had those situations where our dog will follow us to our bathroom and sit outside the door and scratch the door and want to get in just to see us go to the bathroom. But people have actually observed wild dogs and wild wolves, and when they have a family, it's called their pack, right? And when they're in the wild, when a dog or wolf will use the bathroom, they'll actually have another dog or wolf go with that dog to protect it while it's using the restroom. So when you think about it, our dogs do that because we are their pack and they want to protect us while we use the bathroom, because technically we're in a vulnerable state, right?
Yeah.
So they want to make sure that they protect their pack in a vulnerable state. And sometimes wolves will actually stare into another wolf's eyes while they poop, just to make sure they're okay.
That's so nice. It's so funny because for the longest time, I thought that was the most annoying thing, right? You're trying to use the restroom and it's just the claw,
right.
You know?
So, but it's actually because they love you a lot and they just want to protect. Another theory we talked about is a Tony Stark theory on why he names his suits numbers. Now, this is okay, it could be a stretch, but it also could be true.
Okay, I used to think this was kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to me.
Yeah. So we see in Iron Man, whenever he makes a new suit, he calls it the Mark 1, the Mark 2, Mark 5, and then Endgame, he has the Mark 85.
Right.
But the theory goes that in Infinity War, he's on Mark 50, and that's when they lose to Thanos. And during that 5-year blip, there's really no need to make any more suits after Mark 50. So how does he go from Mark 50 in Infinity War to then Mark 85 in Endgame? It really doesn't make sense if there's no need to make suits.
After Infinity War, he kind of gave up.
Yeah, it's almost like he retired as Iron Man, right?
Yeah, he's no more, I'm going to raise my daughter Morgan and settle down with Pepper. So I don't think there was really much need for making more suits.
Right. And in Endgame, we see the armor he makes for Pepper, the rescue armor.
Yes.
Now, in the MCU, it's called the rescue armor, but also Mark 49. But in the comics, it was called Mark 1616. Now, the reason they called it Mark 1616 because P is the 16th letter in the alphabet. So when you think about it, the armor that Tony made for Pepper is literally Mark PP, Mark Pepper Potts.
Yeah.
So it's literally named after her initials. And then in Endgame, we see Mark 85. Now, when you put 8 and 5 together, that makes 13. M is the 13th letter in the alphabet. So the theory is that he named it 85 for Morgan because he knew that this was going to be the suit that saves the world that Morgan would grow up in.
Yeah. I mean, we need to get confirmation on this because,
yeah,
I mean, that is a crazy coincidence.
Right. It is crazy.
If that's not intentional, which
Yeah.
I think Marvel had intentions why they did that.
Exactly.
Why else, right?
I mean, why go from 50 to 85? They could have gone to 83 or 84.
Right.
Why 85? It kind of makes sense. I think it's a pretty good theory.
Because when I look at his Mark 50 suit,
Yeah.
it was pretty advanced, right?
Right.
It had the nanotech and it had pretty much everything he needs.
How much further can you go?
Well, and then when you look at Mark 85, it was different.
It was different. It had I feel like it had maybe different weapons that he could make with it.
And
But
maybe it had the absorption of the stones.
yeah. But see, that's why it made sense that he made that suit for Morgan, because he knows this is the suit that I might have to hold the stones with.
Oh.
So
Which makes sense.
It kind of makes sense. But another theory that we talked about was the Mobius strip theory.
Yes.
Now, I don't have an example here today, but when you take a regular, like a circle loop, you think that's a timeline, because the sacred timeline, right, was a big loop.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, when Tony was trying to create time travel, if you go through a singular loop, you see in the diagram he makes, they're cutting through the middle of it.
Right.
And when you cut through the middle of a single loop, you're just going to make 2 loops. So technically you're making 2 timelines.
It splits it in half.
Exactly. It splits the sacred timeline in half,
Yeah.
which wouldn't have worked for the TVA.
Right.
Now, when you change the timeline into an inverted Mobius strip, even if it's not inverted, it's just a regular Mobius strip. If you intersect that down the middle, it'll actually just make the Mobius strip bigger, in turn making the sacred timeline bigger.
Yeah, it's very interesting because when you cut it down the middle, when you are cutting a Mobius strip, even though you can cut it completely, for some reason, the shape, the design, it will actually make a bigger circle. So say if you start off a circle that's this big as a Mobius strip, then it doubles in size.
Exactly. So in turn, it's not creating another timeline. It's just expanding the one that's already existing. So that's why in Loki, the TVA said that the Avengers did exactly what they were supposed to do.
Right.
And because Loki was like, why aren't the Avengers getting trapped in the TVA if they time traveled. It's because they used an inverted Mobius strip.
Right.
There's another Infinity War theory on like the fight with Thanos and an Iron Man on Titan. And there's actually a theory about why Thanos had to use the Infinity Stones in order to kill Tony Stark properly. Now, you'd think when he has the stones, you'd think he just need the Power Stone to kill Tony.
You could just probably use every single one but the Time Stone to kill Tony if you really want to, right?
If he really wanted to, right?
Yeah.
But when we see on Titan, we actually see him activate all 4 of the stones he has.
So,
Reality, Soul, Power,
Tesseract.
Space.
Yeah.
So he has those 4 stones. Now, he activates all 4 of them when he's going to kill Tony. But he knows that since Doctor Strange still has the Time Stone, he needs to use all 4 of those stones to properly kill Tony. Now, the theory behind that is he needs the Power Stone to disintegrate him. He needs the Reality Stone to make it hurt more than what it actually is. He needs the Space Stone to like separate all the remains of Tony across space. And he needs the Soul Stone to trap Tony's soul in the Soul Realm. Because when you think about it, if Doctor Strange has the Time Stone, he could technically reverse time, and if all the remains of Tony are there, he could just put Tony back together. But if they're not, then he really can't.
Yeah, that's interesting. It makes sense, right? That Thanos knew that what a threat Tony Stark would be, right? Because he even knew Tony Stark's name for seeing him.
Exactly, because he knows the whole New York thing, right?
Right. So it would make sense that Thanos knows that if I'm going to kill Tony, he has to be killed correctly where there's no chance of him returning.
And he has to suffer.
Oh, that's right, because he's
the Reality Stone.
Right. Apparently, when you use the Reality Stone, there's a lot of pain that could come with that, right? Because
I mean, it makes sense because you could either make it hurt less or you could make it hurt more.
Right.
You could literally change all of reality. So it's like you could make it pretty bad.
It's kind of like the Scarecrow in Batman Begins when he has that spray and he makes people like hallucinate.
Right.
And they see things that aren't real. They're suffering.
Yeah.
Remember that theory you said about Pudge the Fish in Lilo and Stitch?
Uh-huh.
So for everyone who doesn't know this theory, it's basically Daniel said a theory about in Lilo and Stitch, we see Lilo always says that she has to go feed Pudge the Fish a sandwich.
Right.
Because she thinks he controls the weather.
Yeah.
And we know that her parents died in a car accident due to a rainstorm.
Exactly.
So she always thinks that since Pudge the Fish was unhappy, he created a rainstorm that killed the parents.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that storyline's going to be explored more in the live action movie.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
Because it totally plays into the fact that Lilo is just a kid and she's really just trying to make sure nobody else gets hurt. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure no one gets hurt like her parents did.
And she truly believes that Pudge the Fish is responsible.
Exactly. And it's like, it totally plays into like how much of a kid she is. Right.
Yeah.
So I think they really should play into it.
Do you think they're going to show what happened to the parents in the live action movie? Or do you think they're going to keep it how it is like in the animated movie, where you kind of just hear about it?
I think there's definitely a possibility where they show like very like short glimpses of like a car crash in a rainstorm.
Yeah.
Like kind of like flashbacks, like very short scenes, but they're never going to show like the relationship they had with their parents, Lilo and Nani.
Right.
I feel like it's just going to be like, they're going to be like explaining the car crash that it happened. And it's just going to be like a flashback of like a car crash in a rainstorm. And that's it.
I wonder why she picked Pudge the Fish though.
Yeah.
See, I wonder if there's a scene where you see a car accident and then it pans down and you see that Pudge the Fish is nearby.
Or Pudge is just the only fish in the ocean that's going to eat a sandwich. And that's just like, she knows that that fish is going to always eat a sandwich.
That's true.
That could be, I don't know.
It could be as simple as that.
Yeah. But it is something that was very overlooked in the original movie. So I think they could play into that in the live action. And I think that'd be like a really cool like nod to the original.
Yeah, that would be very cool. I think I'm allowed to say this. We can't say anything additional to this, but we saw unfinished footage of How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
I think that's all we can say.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was going to start going a little bit.
I think, let me put it this way. If you're a fan of the original series,
yes,
the movies, you're going to love this.
Yeah.
We absolutely loved it, and that's all we can say, because I think we can't share anything more than that.
No.
Just know, very good.
We saw scenes.
We can't even say what scenes we saw. But yeah, it's very good, very exciting. I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm going to leave it at that, because I don't think we can share what we saw.
No.
I know we can't. We can't.
Yeah. Even though we want to, we can't.
But just know it's very good, and if you're a fan, you're going to love it. They absolutely crushed it. It's going to be one of the best.
I think it's going to be one of the best animated to live action adaptations.
Yeah.
I think it's going to definitely be up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say anything else.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on into some news. Now, according to Daniel RPK, I think we all know who that is on this channel. If you don't, he's kind of like a credible leaker. Apparently, the Russo brothers have signed a deal with Marvel to oversee the new X-Men projects.
Yeah.
That's pretty big news.
Yes.
Now, I don't really know when the next X-Men project is coming, but it makes us feel like that the Russo brothers are here to stay after Secret Wars.
Right. I mean, I gotta preface this. We don't know anything.
No,
in
yeah,
terms of like, this hasn't been confirmed by anyone we know or anything with the Russo brothers. This is just directly from
leaks on
a Twitter.
Yeah. So this is all like speculation, but that would be insane if the Russo brothers start overseeing the X-Men, because that means the Russo brothers might possibly work on the X-Men films.
Yeah, that'd be very good. Really good for X-Men, I feel.
And we know how good like the Russo brothers have made Marvel.
Yeah, their track record is undeniable.
Yeah.
It's like perfect.
So can you imagine the Russo brothers working with a X-Men cast and possibly working with Hugh Jackman? That would be game changing.
Yeah, and I feel like out of any director that knows how to work with ensemble, because we know X-Men movies should be ensembles.
Yes, that's a good point.
And the Russo brothers were brought in because they know how to create those ensemble moments so well, and they're such good storytellers. So it makes sense. Let them, just how they did for the Infinity Saga, right? Let them come in and do the Mutant Saga, because they were able to take that Infinity Saga and make it have that perfect conclusion.
Yeah.
And now if they can get the Mutant Saga and really steer the course that they're going, and really help the landing. And I think that's going to be really interesting.
I mean, and it should say something, too, that they're bringing them back for Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now, Secret Wars is going to be the biggest ensemble that we've ever seen in Marvel. So you got to be like, okay, if they're going to have them do that movie, you got to be even more excited that they're going to be possibly doing X-Men.
Yeah.
Because X-Men is such a beloved group of people. Like, it would be just, I don't want to use changing again, but it gives you a lot of hope for Marvel.
Yeah. It definitely is going to probably be a version of the X-Men that we haven't seen before. And I think it's going to be really interesting how the Russo brothers will use these characters, right? And what characters they're going to use.
Right.
Because we've seen the way Fox Universe went about doing their X-Men, but it's going to be interesting for the first time ever how Marvel's going to do it in the movies for X-Men.
Yeah. Another piece of news is Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Season 3 has been confirmed.
Wow.
Apparently, though, Season 2, all the scripts are done and they're just working on animation right now.
Okay.
But the fact that it's all the way out of Season 3, and we literally just got the first week of Season 1.
Yeah.
And now we're hearing news that Season 3 has been confirmed. That should say a lot about the show. I mean, the show has been insane.
So great. It's so well done.
And we actually got to talk to the head writer, right? And this show is going to be one of the best animated Marvel shows we have.
I think
Marvel shows, period, possibly.
Yeah, in terms of capturing the heart of Spider-Man and really, taking those comic book stories and kind of putting their own spin to it with using the Tom Holland universe technically, right? Kind of what we know Spider-Man for in the MCU.
Right.
And kind of tweak it to make it more, I don't know, unique and different. I think it's been really, really well done.
Yeah.
So we talked to Jeff Trammell, and who's the head writer of the show. Super nice guy.
Yeah.
Super fan of Spider-Man. And I knew right when I met him, I was like, okay, we are in good hands. Spider-Man's going to do great. We didn't get to watch the show leading up to talking to him, but what was so interesting is we asked him, what are you working on next, right?
Yeah.
And he couldn't say at the time, but it's so interesting that he was on Disney property working probably on season 2.
Yeah. Seriously. I think
he probably was working.
Yeah.
So what's so interesting to me is that when a season 3 is already greenlit, after season 2 is just the scripts have been written.
All right.
I almost feel like there is something that in season 1 sets up the storyline of where they're going to go, and they automatically know that by starting this in season 1, it's got to go to season 3.
Yeah.
And I think there's got to be something really big for them to greenlight a season 3.
Right.
That means they already know where they're going. Exactly. They already have a storyline of this has to end in season 3.
Yeah. And staying on Spider-Man news, apparently in Spider-Man 4, Tom Holland, he's going to have a new love interest. Now, do I think that they should bring in a new love interest right after his whole No Way Home dark separation from MJ? I don't know. That it just seems a little soon for a new love interest. Do I think it's too soon for a Black Cat to be a part of the story? No. But do I think that he should immediately have this love for Black Cat? No.
So the love interest that they're alluding to is Black Cat being the love
people are
interest.
speculating.
Yeah.
Because I guess it could be a Gwen Stacy, but I really don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they would bring a Black Cat in before they bring in another Gwen Stacy. I just don't know how I feel about there being another love interest other than MJ in Spider-Man 4. I could understand maybe the next Spider-Man after this, there's a new love interest. That's just my opinion on it. What do you think?
I think I mean, it is kind of soon, and I'm not sure if they're gonna have like a time jump from the third movie
Okay, that could
to
make
the fourth
sense. Yeah.
movie. It'll be interesting too that maybe the way I see it happening is like Peter's been on his own for so long, right? He stops having that double life, right?
Yeah.
People don't know who Peter Parker is, so he's very lonely, and he's just fighting crime. He's just sticking to being Spider-Man. That's all he knows. He truly is gonna become Spider-Man, where his main focus is Spider-Man, and then his secret identity is Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think years of doing that, he is very lonely. I think he's going to be so dedicated to being Spider-Man. One day he's going to come across Black Cat, and he's not trying to look for a relationship, right?
Yeah.
But there's something about her like that pulls him in.
Right.
And I think it could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could work.
I could see. Okay, I could see.
I could see that working, right?
Right.
A Black Cat situation where she's like a villain, an anti-hero, and then they kind of meet that way, compared to a Gwen Stacy that he just kind of meets on the street.
Yeah.
I feel like the Black Cat storyline makes more sense, and it's probably like easier to accept that he's just not going on to walk the street as Peter Parker and meet someone new.
Yeah, he's meeting someone as Spider-Man.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Which is different.
Right. Another piece of news is that apparently Marvel Studios is eyeing Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider. Now, this is something that we've talked about for a little bit. Do I think that we're getting closer to that actually coming true? I think so. I think it's actually just seeing the noise Ryan Gosling could make and how perfect he could be for that role. I think it's got to happen.
Yeah. There was a movie, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure the name was like Behind the Pines or something. And it was with Bradley Cooper, Eva Mendes, and Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
And he's basically like a motocross, like Daredevil stunt guy. And Johnny Blaze is a stuntman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Ryan Gosling's already played this character.
Yeah.
So I feel like you got to just let him come in. If he wants to do it, let him do it. He's a great actor. Why not?
Yeah. I think he would be very solid for that role. I think a lot of people would want him to be in that. I don't think people would like be opposed to him being in that role. I think people actually want him as Ghost Rider.
Well, what's weird is, didn't we have that, 2 years ago, I thought it confirmed that Norman Reedus was going to be Ghost Rider.
Yeah, but what happened to that? That kind of just like got swept under the rug.
It is weird because there was so much news about Norman Reedus being Ghost Rider.
Yeah. Now, another piece of news is there was Netflix Next not too long ago, but they also released some teasers about Stranger Things.
Okay.
Now, what they released for Stranger Things was actually a wanted poster or like a missing child poster, and it was actually for 11, for Jane Hopper. So Hawkins is currently looking for 11 because she's missing. There's actually a phone number on the missing thing.
Okay.
And when you call it, it takes you to like Hawkins PD, and they're like saying that they need to find Jane Hopper because like she's missing. But I think it almost sounds like they're blaming everything on her. So they're like, she's like wanted in a way.
So they're saying that go find 11 and bring her in.
Yeah. It's not like
rescue her.
Yeah. It almost seems like she's in trouble. Like they're blaming because Hawkins is like destroyed, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're all blaming 11.
Wow.
Because what I think might happen is the stuff that went on in the lab with Brenner when 11 was younger.
Yeah.
I think it's all going to get released and all the info is going to come out about Hawkins. And then everybody in Hawkins is going to know about 11, the specimen that went missing in the lab, and now she's out causing all this trouble.
Wow.
And the only way to solve that is that 11 is going to have to sacrifice herself to bring Hawkins back together. So I think 11's dead. She's going to die in the next season.
I guess so, because it's going to be so hard to have to explain everything.
It's going to be that whole storyline of villain that's not actually a villain, that's just trying to do good, but everybody sees them as a villain, so then they sacrifice themselves to prove that they're not the villain, and then everybody realizes they're not the villain.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that whole everybody's mad at Superman, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that's the way to go, because I feel like 11 getting to live a normal life after this, it is kind of unbelievable.
Right. I also saw some pictures of Squid Game Season 3.
Okay.
Now, they released some photos. Now, there's a photo of Gion handcuffed to one of the beds in, like, the headquarters room.
Okay.
And what it looks like, you can see, like, kind of like the silhouette on the side of the screen, and I think it's the front man just looking at him. But if you notice, in that headquarters room, there's always white light that comes down. Now, when you look at that photo, it's yellow.
Okay.
So that means the piggy bank has come down and it's filling up with money because that's the only time that room is yellow. So that means either a game was played and Gion was stuck to the bed, or this is right after the special game. You know how they call like everyone killing each other like the special game? So I think it's going to be after that, and they're going to count everyone that's dead and all the money's going to start coming in.
I see. So after everyone murdered each other.
Yeah.
I see.
We also see some players. I think it was the son and the mom, the pregnant girl, and then the military person.
Okay.
They were all looking in one of the coffins. Now they had a coffin in the headquarters room. The only person you don't see in that picture that could be in that coffin is the one who was supposed to bring the magazines back to them and like got scared. So possibly he could have like made like a big sacrifice.
Or could it be Gion's friend that got killed by the
It could be. It could be Gion's friend, which would make sense.
Yeah.
So I think that could be the route they go, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. Apparently, I think it's June. June is the release date.
June. It's still kind of far, but it's closer than.
Yeah. Closer. It's honestly closer than what I expected it to be. I honestly thought we were going to have to wait till next December, this coming December.
And I think what happened, didn't like it get leaked about the next season being released in December, and they're like, we're just got to move it up now.
Oh, is that what happened?
I think so.
Oh.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that there was a leak that season 3 is going to be coming the next year right after in December.
Uh-huh.
And then they're like, we got to just push it up now.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. You got to think like the season 2 did so well. So well. You might as well just release season 3, especially with the way season 2 ended. It ended on such like a cliffhanger that you got to just release season 3.
Yeah.
Because you didn't even finish the games in season 2.
It was almost unfair to call that a complete season 2. It was
Yeah.
like almost like you had season 2 and 3 was supposed to just be season 2, and you're like, let's just cut it in half. you know?
Yeah. It's like a season 2.5. It literally did not finish.
No, that was a very I get it, like shows can leave on cliffhangers, but that was just too abrupt.
Yeah, I mean, they had this huge buildup, and I was like, whoa, this is going to get intense. Because I wasn't even looking at how many episodes there were. I was just like binging the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
So when I saw that episode end, the last episode, and I didn't have a button to click next episode, I was like, wait, what? Are you serious? Because like that was just like too big of a cliffhanger.
And isn't there a clip going around on TikTok where it's like there's a picture of Gion and then it's like player 456 eliminated?
Yeah. See, I don't know if that's real or if that's fake, but like it seems pretty legit. So there's like a clip going around where it's just Gion and it's like his profile picture for his player, and it says player. It's in the front man's room where he's walking over everyone's profile picture, and as they die, the light turns off and it goes eliminated. Yeah, and then Chosu and Youngie, they just appear on screen and then it cuts. I don't know what this means.
Well, it means it in the context of the video that he was killed.
Right. Now, do we think that
I mean, the questions now are, is it real or is it fake? Right?
Right.
It's either fake or real.
Yeah.
And I think either way, though, in the video, 456 dies.
Yeah.
Or, this is another thing. He doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
But just like the front man, when he played the game, right, he's 001. He's now back to being the front man. He has to kill himself, pretending to kill himself, so that the player version of him dies. Now, I almost feel that 456 may get a role as a worker or something, right? Or the front man, maybe. And then 456 dies, the player version. He then has to put on the mask and be the front man. Killing Gihan would be such a dumb thing to do.
No, yeah. I don't think he gets killed. If anything, I don't know. I don't think he gets killed. He has to have some sort of ending where like his daughter comes in and everything. There was also another photo of worker number 11. She has her mask off and she's on the shore of the island. She's not in the where they play the games or where she stays.
Yeah.
She's on the shore and like she's like looking up at something. But I think that when she saves that other player, I keep forgetting the numbers, but
yeah.
She saves the player that she's been watching this entire time, and I think he makes like a sacrifice for her when they're like about to get off the island, because he's kind of like, hey, I'm shot, like I can't take you much further, so like, you're fine, you need to just go without me.
And in turn, she's gonna help take care of his daughter.
Yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, seems like those are plausible like outcomes.
Yeah, because it definitely shows that worker 11 gets out. So your theory about how we see in that photo with the cast, like worker 11 is the one standing, so she's going to be alive still. Yeah. It technically shows like, hey, she's going to be able to escape and she's going to get out.
Yeah.
So it kind of confirms that theory in a way.
Well, at least there's one person that we know for sure.
Yeah.
It's probably going to make it out. There's another crazy leak going around. I don't know how true this is, but on Twitter, apparently Chris Evans is going to be a bad Hydra cap in Doomsday. Alongside Robert Downey Jr.'s Victor Von Doom, there's also going to be a symbiote Spider-Man played by Tom Holland, who's Bat. And they're going to be all working together. So it'd be Tom Holland, Robert Downey Jr., and Chris Evans playing villains. Yeah. And it makes sense because in Secret Wars, we see Spider-Man gets the symbiote suit in the comic book.
Right. Yeah.
So it makes sense that maybe in Doomsday he fights a symbiote version of himself, gets the symbiote from that Spider-Man, right, and then uses it in Secret Wars.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Or maybe that's just Tom Holland's never going to get the secret. You know what I mean? The good version will never get the symbiote, but the bad one's going to be in Secret Wars fighting him.
Ooh. See, that would be so crazy to see because Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Tom Holland both playing double roles, good and bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's going to be like pretty iconic to see those six, going at each other. Because they're definitely, if that happens, they're definitely going to have that shot where it's the six of them they're going to have like their own fight.
Do you think, though, that there's going to be a good version of Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr.?
I think there has to be. You can't just have a bad version show up and there's no other Captain America to be found. Or there's no other Iron Man to be found.
I think what's going to happen is Riri Williams, who plays Ironheart, will fight Tony
as Doctor Doom.
And Falcon as new Captain America will fight Chris Evans.
That is true.
And Tom
will just be fighting Tom.
Yeah.
Do you know what would be crazy?
That is
Tom
Toby
fighting Andrew.
Oh.
Because Andrew never got that like big moment, I feel like, with the symbiote.
That's true.
Neither has Tom, but I feel like if people saw Andrew with the symbiote, that would be insane.
And who knows? Maybe it is going to be Andrew.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Andrew, Robert, and Chris.
I
mean, that's possible.
It's possible. But I guess it would deepen it a little more to be Tom and RDJ as Doctor Doom and Spider-Man again.
Yeah.
Just on a different side of things.
Right.
I think that's an interesting way to go. That's a rumor that could be very possible and like I think it'd create a pretty cool storyline.
Yeah, it is funny. I'll never forget. Our dad, when he was working one day, Michael Chiklis came into his store.
Yeah.
And Michael Chiklis plays the Thing. And I told my dad, go ask him if he's going to return as the Thing.
Yeah.
And he went up to Michael Chiklis and said, like, hey, would you ever come back as the Thing? He goes, I'm just kind of a little old for that now. Like, I'm too old.
Nah, he's for sure.
Dude, I saw there's a leak going around that Michael Chiklis is going to be fighting in Avengers Secret Wars against a bad version of the Hulk.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, there's like reports going around that he's coming back.
Oh, that's insane.
I feel like Secret Wars is like going to be way bigger than Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, for sure.
So we saw how big Deadpool and Wolverine was, right?
Yeah.
Bringing in those cameos. If you're trying to say that Secret Wars is going to be the biggest movie of all time, you got to bring in everyone.
Right. They're for sure bringing in everyone.
And you can't be like that. Like it's almost going to be distracting if you leave out people, right? Like you have to bring everyone back that wants to come back. Or if they don't want to come back, you have to find someone that could play their character under a mask then.
Yeah.
Because it's almost going to be more talked about if someone wasn't in it at that point.
Yes.
There's so many people in it that if you don't have people in it, like that are supposed to be in it from the Fox universe, they're going to be like, what?
Yeah.
Why didn't you get so-and-so? And it could be the smallest character, right?
Right.
People could be praising that Hugh Jackman's in it, Tobey Maguire's in it, like all these big people that came back.
Yeah.
But if like a couple small people don't come back, people are going to be like, well,
dude,
what about them? What the heck happened?
Yeah. Apparently, there was also like a leaked cast list for Secret Wars, and it looks pretty legit. Now, I don't know how real it is, but in my eyes, it looked kind of legit.
Is it basically just every single superhero that?
No. It was like Benedict Cumberbatch, maybe Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. But at the bottom, it said like Ana de Armas pending or something like that. Now, remember, we talked to the Russo brothers. We asked them, if you ever casted Ana de Armas in a Marvel movie, who would she play? And they told me Squirrel Girl. So, could Squirrel Girl, Ana de Armas be coming? Maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Before this was even remotely talked about.
What?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll have that clip still?
I hope so.
Oh my gosh, because they did say that on camera.
Yeah.
They also talked about Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
But in that same clip, they did say it's tough as a lot of people have been casted already.
Right.
That haven't been announced.
Yeah. So, Ana de Armas, Squirrel Girl? I don't know.
And we could share that because they literally said it on camera.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Matthew Lillard is returning as Stu in Scream 7. Is it Scream 7 or Scream 8?
Scream 7.
In Scream 2022, though, we do see on the whiteboard in the background, it does say Stu, ? And I think he's obviously still alive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll just never forget. I remember when we were watching like the first time Stu was there in the Scream movies.
Yeah.
And they're like stabbing each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm feeling a little woozy here.
Yeah.
That was like one of the best scenes.
Yeah, so Stu's returning.
Yeah, see that? I wonder what direction they're going to go because isn't Neve Campbell coming back too?
Yeah, it makes sense that Stu's going after Neve Campbell.
Yeah. And after all these years, it's like time to finally get her.
Yeah. And if you ask me what I think is going to happen, there's going to be like 7 Ghostface.
You think so?
Or like 8. And they're going to all be like, he's going to recruit like an army of Ghostface.
And you think they're all going after Nev?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, can you just imagine that scene of like 8 Ghostfaces all walking together?
Yeah. I mean, how would she even get away? I don't know how she comes out of that.
A gun.
Yeah, I guess. You gotta just make sure you shoot him in the head.
I mean, by now you got to think Nev Campbell's character, Sidney Prescott's got to have like a crazy weaponry.
Yeah, that is true. I wonder if she's just gonna go like berserk.
Yeah.
We're just gonna see her go crazy.
Probably.
Because at this point in her life, she knows like she always has to be on edge, and she knows she has to know how to fight, and she has to know how to use a gun.
Yeah. I would love to see a movie where it's like Sidney Prescott is just so prepared that she's not even stressing.
Right.
But it's the Ghostface that are stressing.
Oh.
Like, that'd be kind of cool, right?
That'd be so crazy.
Right? Where they think they're going to get her, and
Yeah.
she's just wiping them out.
Yeah. And then Stu's the final boss.
Yeah.
But, like, see, I wonder how they're going to, like, show where she's been all this time. Like, has she had Ghostface encounters because she's Sidney Prescott? Like, throughout her life, has she just continuously had this going on? But, like, Stu is, like, the one that has been studying her and, like, knows her from the beginning. And that's why he's the one that's, like, going to be hard for her to kill.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Would you rather be stuck in a horror movie or an action movie?
Ooh. Okay. Horror movie. And this is why. In a horror movie, you only see them make stupid decisions. And you're like, you know what? If you just would have done this, you would survive. If you just would have done this, you would have been like you would have escaped.
Yeah.
Every time we see a horror movie, they're always making dumb decisions. You're never in a horror movie and you're like, whoa, that was really smart, but it ended up not working.
Yeah.
It's always like, how is that going to work?
Right. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this week's podcast and listening. If you guys are new to the channel, please smash the subscribe button and hit the like button. And also comment what you guys want us to talk about, along with talk about some of the things that really are interesting to you in the movie scene or pop culture. And we would love to know what you guys want us to talk about. So without further ado, we'll see you guys tomorrow on TikTok, and we'll see you guys next week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. God bless you. Love you.